Continuing the series Know Your GM, this episode is dedicated to Indian Grandmaster M.R. Lalith Babu. Happy birthday, M.R. Lalith Babu. So, with this video, we will try to know more about him. Let's get started. So, M.R. Lalith Babu started quite early. He was born in Vijayawada. He started playing chess quite early and then he played a lot of state and national events. I saw him for the first time in a sub junior event which happened in Vizag in 2006. I played a game and I lost it, but it was good to learn from that game. And then his big break came in 2008, where it was an Asian event and he got a silver medal. And as a result, he also got his IM title. So that was a big break. Now that further gave him a big boost because then he also went on to make Grandmaster norms. So his first Grandmaster norm came in 2008 in Baguer, and then he made a norm in 2010 and 12 in Chennai and Hastings respectively. So in Hastings he got his final norm and that is when he completed his GM title. So he became a GM in 2012. I think he was the 26th Grandmaster of India, and once he got the GM title he went on to play many events. I'm going to list out some of his major accomplishments. He won the Leiden Open in 2009 and then he became a Commonwealth champion in 2012, which is quite big. And then he also won another strong event in Chennai, and then later he became National Premier Champion in 2017. Not just this, he also won the National Rapid Championship, and then he got second in the Blitz section. And then finally in 2008, he won a very strong open in China, which is called the SEO Open. So these are just some of the accomplishments that I have listed. He has done more than this, and what a player, isn't it? When I think of the name Lalith Babu, the first thing that comes to my mind is the amazing games that he has played in Karakan with the black side. He has included a lot of other openings in his arsenal recently, but Karakan stays in mind. So when I told him about the series that we are doing, he was kind enough to share his best game. I'm going to say that you are in for a treat. That game is an absolute delight. But before that, let me come to his favorite book and a favorite quote from that particular book. So here it comes. It's a book by Andre Agassi. It's open. It's called Open, and this is a quote. What makes something special is not just what you have to gain, but what you feel there is to lose. So that's a nice quote, isn't it? I would also suggest that you read this book. This has also been read by Vidit. He's also mentioned that in his social media once. Yeah, so this is a nice book to read. It's an autobiography, so do consider checking it out. With that introduction about Lalith Babu, let's get started with his favorite game. So this is his best game that he played in Jalgaon. This was against Deepan Chakravarti, and he was white in this game. And it's a Queen's Gambit. Declined. So they say declined because the pawn is not accepted. And let me get straight into a critical position after e3. In this position, black, being Deepan Chakravarti, took c takes d4 and white took back the pawn with knight. Before this, ed4 was played in one of the games, but Lalith Babu went with knight takes d4. Then after knight takes d4, rook takes d4, bishop b7, he played c takes d5. Now in this position, black played ed5 and accepted the isolated queen pawn. Now you might be wondering that this game is going to be a slow and a strategic game. White will put a lot of pressure on the d5 pawn and eventually win it and maybe then win the game. But no, this game went into a completely different direction. After bishop e2, his opponent played queen c8, queen b3 attacking the pawn, then came rook d8 and then knight b5. Knight e4, castles, knight c5, queen d1, knight e6. Now with this little maneuver, what happened is the d4 rook has to move, isn't it? So rook d2 would have been interesting in this position, but Lalith Babu came up with a very interesting concept. He saw that black doesn't have a piece in front of its kingside pawns. So that means that there are less defenders. So keeping this in mind, he considered bishop g4 and went with it. He played bishop g4. Now after bishop g4, the critical response is queen c6 because you would like to take knight d4, so it makes sense to move away from the pin. And now knight takes d4 is threatened. Not just that, the knight on b5 is also under attack. So how will you solve this problem? The d4 rook is hanging, the knight on b5 is hanging. You might say that I will solve it with bishop takes e6, but there is more to the story. Yes, Lalith Babu did play bishop takes e6, and after in this position queen takes e6 is not possible. I hope you see why. It's because of this fork. So fe6 has to be played, and this is the moment for you to think what would you do as white. If you are intending to go knight c3, let me tell you, no, that is not part of the story. So some of you might be considering queen b3 or queen e2 to support the knight, but Lalith Babu had something completely different in his mind, and this is where the fun begins. He plays bishop to e5, double exclaim. Now in this position, as they say, we need at least 3 pieces for an attack. We have 2 pieces here and this queen is ready to join. So imagine if somebody plays a move like bishop e5, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Why is the knight hanging? Why is he giving it for free? But knowing Lalith Babu, I have a feeling that Deepan Chakravarti had calculated this, that okay, this knight is hanging, but maybe there is something, and he might have already maybe looked at some variations and concluded that it's not as dangerous as it seems, and then he went with queen takes b5. Now as it is usually with the cases of tactical positions, CCTP almost always works. So consider checks, there are no checks. Consider captures, a move like bishop g7 might seem very desperate here because simply king g7. Then what are threats? When it comes to threats, it's a good idea to first consider mating threats and then attack on other pieces. So here there is a nice mating threat, which is queen g4, and that is what happened in the game. He played queen g4. The threat is queen g7 as well as queen takes e6, and to which his opponent played bishop f8. Is thus defending the threat. If you play a move like g6, it's not going to help because you see this is very dangerous. So bishop f8 happened, queen takes e6 check, king h8. Now remember, before playing bishop e5, Lalith Babu had to consider all of this. So after queen e6 check, king h8, he played rook h4. There is a deadly threat here in this position. If black plays, let's say, a dumb move like, let's say, a5, then there is queen f5, and then you can't even play h6 because rook takes h6 followed by queen e6. It's just dangerous, so dangerous that you can't take this position lightly. Now the threat is queen f5 or queen g6, but at the same time black cannot play a move like h6 because it runs into a mate in 1. So now I hope that you've started understanding the effect of white's threats. So after rook h4, rook h7 or queen f5, all these ideas are coming. So one of the moves could be to play something like bishop e6, and then maybe he would have responded with rook e1. Or maybe if queen c6, in a way you are defending against queen f5, because on queen f5 you have h6 because rook h6 is no longer possible. These were some of the possibilities. But after queen c6 also, I think white has enough play. He can go queen h3, and then if you play a move like queen g6, he can play f4 and then threaten to further push this queen away. So white has a lot of initiative. So after rook h4, his opponent Deepan Chakravarti played queen d3, preventing rook into h7 ideas. Now the reason why this doesn't work is white has a strong move in response. So he plays pawn to e4, closing this and making sure that the threat is resumed. And then after e4, he played bishop a6, intending to capture on f1. And then Lalith Babu responds as if nothing has happened, plays rook e1, just simply moves his rook away. Remember that white is a piece down, but he's able to play a move like this only because white has active pieces. And after queen d2, since the rook is attacked, he plays bishop c3. Again, a very nice idea to remember: if your opponent attacks your piece, before defending or moving it away, see if there are any ways to counter attack. So this is a nice move, attacking the queen, and then after queen goes to g5, he again puts pressure on h7. He plays queen h3. And now in this position, if you play h6, it's not going to help because rook h6 is coming, and if you play king g8, it runs into a mate. If you play queen takes h6, then there is queen h6. Let me show you the kind of mate that could take place. After king g8, there is queen e6, and then rook e3. Rook lift will decide the game in white's favor. So after queen h3, queen g6 was one of the ideas, but white has f4. He could play f4 and then push the queen eventually, and then again continue with the strong attack. But in the game, Deepan played pawn to d4, and then after rook takes h7 check, king g8, it's again your turn to see what you would do as white. Move like rook h8 is possible, but the king can come to f7. You need to have a strong follow-up. I really like the moves played by Lalith Babu. He played pawn to e5. The idea is, if black takes the bishop, he is silently going to play e6 and threaten mate on h8. This is very dangerous. And if black plays queen h6, it will soon walk into a mate like rook takes h6 and then e7. And after bishop e7, no, don't panic. We are not going to take the bishop with the rook. We are going to first check the king and then take rook e7, because now we have made sure there is no back rank weakness. That's just a sample variation. So after e5, Deepan played bishop b7, and then Lalith Babu played rook h8 check, and after king f7 he played e6 check, and after king g6 he played bishop d2. The point is, you cannot take queen takes d2 because of this check, and a mate will soon follow. Nice king hunt, isn't it? So after queen f5 he played queen g3, and after king f6 he threatens mate with h4. Now bg5 is also coming very soon. So after g5 he made sure that bg5 there is the king could come to e7 or g7. So he made sure that the king squares are taken care. He played rook h7. Again queen takes h7 cannot be taken because queen g5 is a mate. So after rook h7, his opponent just resigned. This was a very nice game, I thought, and definitely deserves to be the best game. So that was fun, and let me take this opportunity to wish Lalith Babu happy birthday again. May your year be full of all that you want. Wish you a lot of success, and to all you viewers, I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned a little bit about M.R. Lalith Babu. It's such a great feeling to have such grandmasters in our country. I'll be back with another video. Until then, take care. Bye bye.